evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the agenda of the regular meeting of Freeport City Council this Monday, January 8th, 2024 at 6 p.m., first meeting of the year. At this time, I will declare that a quorum is present. I will also declare that all notices have been legally posted pursuant to the Opens Meetings Act. And at this time, I would ask you to please rise and join us as we are led in our invocation and pledge of allegiance by Councilman Rosso.
Let's pray. Lord, we thank you right now for this chance you've given us to make it into this year. We thank you for 2023. Lord, we look forward to 2024 being even a better year. We ask you to bless the council, Lord. Bless all the bedridden, all the homeless, all the people destitute. We ask you, Lord, to have your way in this meeting tonight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. You may be seated. At this time in our agenda, we have citizen comments, and we have a number of them tonight. First one would be Miss Melanie Oldham. I please remind everybody as they come up here that there is a 4-minute time limit on comments.
Good evening. My name is Melanie.
I'm not sure the mic is working.
Good evening, Melanie Oldham, 1206 West 5th Street. I just wanted to speak quickly to two items that aren't on the agenda and then speak to one later on. But first of all, I noticed further down there's going to be discussion about the hotel occupancy tax. And being a brand new member on the Historical Main Street Committee, I was reading the books that Miss Anna gave me, and I discovered how important this hot tax is for us citizens. And as you know, different city councils can vote on how that hot tax can be used. And one of them is very important, that it could be used for revitalization of a downtown historic district. So to me, because we have the regulations, the ordinances, they need to be enforced for everybody because this money will go towards positive things. Second of all, I know there was conversation months ago about the downtown buildings being secured for safety. There's at least one building down there that has a wooden fence, but there's nothing above it to keep people from going in there. The back of it, the gate is wide open. You can look and see there's a hole in the building that some teenager or anybody could climb into. So I think we need to look at what it means to secure these buildings downtown, and maybe y'all could take a look.
Thank you, ma'am. Manning Roderson.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Manning Roderson. I live at 126 West 6th Street, Freeport, Texas. Come to the council today because I really made a decision that I feel like the citizens of Freeport need change. My daughter turned 40 years old on January the 3rd of this year. My daughter was born here 40 years ago. 40 years ago, we had a city government that's doing the same thing that you guys done. 40 years ago, Walker Royalty within the 40 years, Walker Royalty walked away with $20 million, and they represented us, Olsen and Olsen. Then we had the issue with Raymond Garvey that you gentlemen just seemed that y'all didn't want to be forthcoming with the citizens of Freeport until we had to find out on the Late Show. Then we had the issue concerning Brexit LLC that every last one of y'all sat there and covered up. That's the issue too, that y'all just throwed away the other night. Both lawyers, same law firm that we have that throw cases away, Olsen and Olsen. So then we have Caruvios, $345,000, and you guys said that withdraw without cause, dismiss without cause. The cause was the $345,000. That triggers him to get his separation package. We need the truth, and they need to be terminated as such. We need to stop paying people to do us wrong, because that's what we're doing. And that's why I filed Article 1 of the city charter against that gentleman, and that gentleman. I let you go. And you are the head of this. The insubordinates get in trouble, but the ones we elect never get in trouble. And you guys supposed to make sure this is going smoothly. But you guys too busy want to sit around here and not make sure that the house ain't being robbed. And it's being robbed on your watch. All of y'all need to be recalled. Y'all have a great day.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Tom Pearson? You're passing? Okey-doke. Thank you, sir. With that, we'll go into presentation announcements. Number one, AOCA Engineering presentation to provide services to the city for plan review, permitting, and inspections. Mr. Lance Petty.
Yes, sir. Mr. Kelty had inquired in the past with this company and set a meeting up that I attended, and it was passed on to me from Mr. Kelty that council had wished to have a presentation from them to see what services they provide. So I set that up for tonight, and AOCA's here to give us a short presentation.
Respectful Mayor, respectful council, appreciate you guys taking the time tonight. I did send over the presentation to Lance, so I'm sure all of you do have it. If not, I have a couple extra copies. But yes, so we're a third-party company that helps with plan review and inspection, essentially anything when it comes to permitting. So we do have professionals, ICC certified, as well as what are called Master Code professionals, which is the highest designation for any type of plans examiners within our industry. We have 8 now. It says 6, but we actually just hired 2 more. But we do help with an array of things, like you said, building plan review and inspections for brand new builds, as well as remodels. We also help with anything civil if the city were to need it, as far as project management, the whole 9 yards, fire protection, health services, as well as training services. And so I'm really here just to be able to answer any kind of questions you all may have. We'd love to work with the city if possible, to kind of be able to help make your building department a little more robust, especially with the growth that the city's seeing.
So what is it you exactly do? What services can you provide the city?
Plan review and inspections. So we do building inspections and we review architectural plans for code and to make sure that they're up to code based on what the city standards and ordinances are.
And how quick would you do this?
So we have guaranteed turnaround times on plan review. It says 5 business days. We average about 3. As far as inspections, next day, 24-hour turnaround time on inspections. So if they get us they schedule an inspection tonight, we'll have it ready for tomorrow on whatever time.
Who schedules the inspections?
So depending on what the process is with the city, whether it's a dedicated permit clerk. If not, then we'll have contractors essentially funneled into a scheduling system.
So if an individual comes in and applies for a permit and does not have the proper documentation, y'all don't do anything about that. Y'all just do the inspection point, is what you're saying. So
yes. So we'll review their architectural plans. If they do not have the permit approved through the city, then we won't even do that. We don't touch it unless the city has given that permit approval first. Once the city does issue a permit, then we will go through that process and we'll handle it cradle to grave. Well,
sounds like maybe second grade to grave, because the cradle part is still on the city of Freeport.
Well, if the city were to need a dedicated permit clerk, we can do that as well. We just don't typically, usually the city will have that in place. But if the city of Freeport does not, without a doubt, we can definitely provide that.
And Mr. Kelty, excuse me, Mr. Petty, your position on this?
I don't have a position right now. I wanted to hear more about the company and then do some more looking into it. I know that if it's something that the council wants to pursue to look into, we'll have to issue an RFP for professional services. And then when we get that RFP back, we can compare apples to apples of our in-house and outsourcing.
Because where I think we hear a lot of the issues, and once again, I don't think, I don't necessarily believe it's on the code department that the issues are issuing from the city of Freeport. But if you have somebody that comes in with a handwritten drawing and wants it to be approved, is that something that you would approve?
So in the state of Texas, it doesn't have to be architecturally or engineer stamped. So technically, if it's legible, we have before, yes, as long as it's legible. But again, it depends on what the city will accept. If the city accepts that, then without a doubt, then we will work with the city on that. Ideally, we would prefer not to, but if the city does accept that, then that is what we will follow.
And Lance, what does the city accept at this point in time?
Currently, our staff does approve those hand drawings. They work with the residents.
Okay. How specific do they have to be?
Measurement-wise, as long as the measurements, exits, anything to do with like fire code, anything that comes up with the code, as long as we can measure it to the city ordinance, then that should be enough. And if there's issues with that throughout that plan review process, we're in constant communication with either the resident or the contractor to get that updated and get it back to us.
Well, let me back up. So you're saying that if there is issues with their drawing, you would contact the resident or whoever's trying to do the build and instruct them on what needs to be done correctly?
That's correct, yeah. Just according to the code and the ordinance that the city has, we go through that and we'll say, hey, these things are missing, we need these things prior to us even approving the plan review process, prior to us even going out for an inspection.
Okay. Council, do y'all have any other questions for this gentleman?
Where are y'all officed out of?
I'm sorry, sir?
Where are y'all officed out of?
So our headquarters is actually in Fort Worth. We do have a Houston office and we do have an Austin office as well, but our headquarters is Fort Worth.
Okay, I was concerned about that because on your presentation here you have several cities throughout the state and doing a 24-hour turnaround. I would expect that there was an office close in Houston. I could see that happening.
Yes, sir, and I brought our building official who actually lives in Brazoria, so he would be the one being really overseeing everything within the city.
Nice. Thank you.
I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
No, that's it.
And how many cities are you doing this for in Missouri County?
In Brazoria County?
Yes.
None at the time, sir, at this time.
Okay. You just like to live in Brazoria?
I've lived in this area for about 10 years now.
All right, thank you. All right. Any other councilmen have anything they'd like to ask? All right, very good. Thank you, sir. We appreciate. Yes, sir. Mr. Reyna, if you will fill out a form. Sir, if you'll just step over to the side real quick in case it needs to be.
I just want to ask this gentleman a question. My name is Sam Lane, and I reside 2002 in North Avenue G. Is this more or less a electronically software program that you all will install, or?
Hold on before you answer. Go ahead and I need you to answer in the mic, but go ahead.
No, that's all I want to find out. Thank you.
No, sir,
Don't
it's
forget to
not.
fill out a form, Sam. All right.
No, sir, it is not an electronic software I mean, we have a software to be able to track permits. Typically, we'll work with the city. If they have their own software, then we will adopt that software. If not, we do also provide a free software as well. But no, that's really not the purpose.
All right, thank you. Ms. Clark? Could you step aside again, sir? Thank you.
Carla Clark, for Lemons Sailfish. So what I'm understanding is you're a third party, but you have structural inspectors, electrical, plumbing, and they will all would be like, if they had were to come down, they would be done like in a 24-hour period. Is that right? What all do you inspect on?
Yes, ma'am, and this may be a little bit of a better answered by our building official, but yes, ma'am, when it comes to anything code, when it comes to HVAC, mechanical, fire, those are all 24-hour turnaround times.
Right. Yeah, like I said previously, I live in Brazoria. I've been here 10 years. My sons go to
Can you speak up a little bit more? Thank you.
oh, there, yeah, my kids go to Columbia High School, so we've been here for quite a while.
Well, we're exporters here, we're not roughnecks.
We play you guys yearly, so
I
you
know,
That's
I know.
right. Well, yeah, so we're proud members of the Brazos Sport area. So yeah, we can do it all. We can do everything from electrical, mechanical, building, plumbing, architectural plan review, structural plan review, fire code inspections, fire code, plan review. We're pretty much a one-stop shop, so whatever you need, we can do it. Been doing it for quite a while. AOCA is a brand-new company, but we got a brand-new model also, and that is quality and communication. So if anyone has a question, we provide our phone numbers. They can get in touch with us right away. If it's something that needs to be done same day, like I said, I'm just right down the road. Well, I come to Freeport all the time. Well, more Quintana Beach area, you know. So yeah, we want to get involved in this community, mainly because I love it and I live here. I reached out to these guys and I said, I think Freeport is a good target for us. And I've been a building official, building inspector for Brazoria and West Columbia. So I'm very familiar with this area and the Brazos Sport area.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, we're now going to regular session of council business. Item number 2, consideration and possible action on the approval of city council meeting minutes from December 18th, 2023. I'll certainly entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
We have a motion to approve the meeting minutes. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion, Mayor.
All right, the motion was made by Councilman Kane, and it was seconded by Councilman Matamoros. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried unanimously, 4-0. Thank you. Item number 3, public hearing, consideration and possible action amending ordinance number 2023-2712 regarding changes to City of Freeport zoning ordinance 155.501 standards for residential infill development to allow single-family residence and carports to be built on single 25-foot lots. It is now 6:17 p.m. I will now open this public hearing. Ms. Roman.
Yes, sir. This item has been before City Council before. We were instructed to table it and take it back before Planning and Zoning. We did have a public meeting through Planning and Zoning. I would like to point out that 2 of the members were absent that night. So even the 3 that were there, it was a quorum, and they did unanimously approve this, but it was with 3 members instead of the full 5. You can read in the memo that I provided, and for the audience, I'll go ahead and list them. There's been a lot of discussion on allowing construction on standalone 25-foot lots, and these are the requirements that were discussed at that meeting and that were agreed upon and to be presented to you. To allow this for both cottages and small cottages, so if they built 2 or 3 or 4 houses in a row, it would be to the same standard, not one standard for one and a different for the other. So this would be for both cottages and small cottages. This would allow single-family residences to be built on 25-foot lots. The recommendation was with a limited use requirement instead of a specific use permit. There was quite a bit of discussion on whether builders would have to come and possibly lose their contract with the property if they weren't allowed to build. So with a limited use, they will still have to follow strict requirements, but they don't have to come back before planning and zoning each time. It must have 2 paved off-street parking spots. They removed the requirement to have a garage or carport as long as there is enclosed outdoor storage provided. Because of that, they also changed the recommendation for setbacks. If the parking is in the rear with a developed alley, they're recommending a 15-front setback to shift it forward and allow more parking in the rear. If there is no parking in the rear and the parking is in the front, then it would be a 25-foot setback to allow for those 2 paved parking spaces in the front. The minimum lot area would be 2,500 square foot. Minimum lot width would be 25 feet. The minimum dwelling size, they agreed to 850 square foot with an outdoor enclosed storage building. You would only need 1 lot for standalone, and they were clarifying that you wouldn't have to have a developed alleyway and do not restrict parking to the rear. And as I said, that was voted on by 3 members of Planning and Zoning because 2 were not present, and that was on December 19th. And then we have brought it back before you.
Okey-doke. If you'll step back, I have some folks that are going to come up here and speak. Mr. Green, G. Green, or Miss G. Green, Mr. G. Green?
George Green. My deal is, why do they want to keep building these beachfront houses right in the middle of a regular neighborhood? I mean, they're great on the waterfront, I've seen them, but they don't belong in a neighborhood like this. I mean, these are all regular homes, they're building homes all over in there, and they're regular homes. But all of a sudden you want to put 3 to 4 beach houses, basically trailers on stilts, right in the middle of this neighborhood. I mean, it'll make it look like hell. Then they want to put these little tiny houses that they got right down here that are right off the street behind that motel in Freeport, and the only people that live in those, as we all know, you know who they are, and we don't want that in our neighborhood. You know, I'm really concerned about these houses being in there, and then there's no place to park, and I don't care who you say, well, we're gonna build them this far back, that far forward, they're gonna park in front of that. The street is too narrow. You know, build a regular house.
Okay.
You know, that's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Lamar Jordan?
I never get last word. Not even at home. Hello, my name is Lamar Jordan, and I am the owner of some 25-foot Velasco lots. Orphan lots, I think, is the term coined by the city staff for lots that cannot be paired up. As a property owner, I appreciate the consideration of some proposed changes to the city's ordinances that will allow the construction of houses on 25-foot lots. I think it's only fair that the owners of property be allowed to use their property. What we have now under the current zoning laws is a complete prohibition from using their property. So I'm hoping for change. This ordinance, as I read it, is all positive changes. It allows construction of a single-family residence called small cottage housing on a 25-foot lot, 850 square foot minimum with outdoor storage required, making it possible for a more affordable one-story house that will better blend into existing neighborhoods than a two-story house. This ordinance has dropped the garage or carport requirement, as Councilman Jerry Kane suggested. It does have parking requirements, 2 paved off-street spots. The front setbacks vary according to front or rear access, but it does maintain the 5-foot setbacks on the sides, which is universal really to all residential construction. I would like to point out that there is nothing about 0 lot lines in here like Realty World asked for several years ago. Nothing like that, not even kin to their proposal. This ordinance also dropped the specific use permit as suggested by Councilman Jeff Pena in an effort to avoid delays and another layer of unnecessary government bureaucracy. And he's right. All of the required notices and more public hearings are not needed or warranted. Now, I know that specific use permits are sometimes required, but it's usually with regard to commercial property and in instances of certain businesses, usually specified businesses. If the permit is denied, the property owner will have to find another type of business to use the property. But in this case, regarding these lots, if a special use permit was denied, there are no alternatives to permit the use of one's property. There needs to be a way to use these 25-foot lots. You know, everybody wants more rooftops in Freeport. Everybody would like to have more affordable options for people to own a home. The problem is most people would prefer a lot to be vacant if it's next door to them. I don't blame them for that, but they should buy it. Not have their government craft an overly restrictive ordinance that prevents the neighboring property owner from the use of their land. The neighbors may have enjoyed living next door to a vacant lot for years. They may have been mowing it for years. It may look like part of their yard, and they may feel like it's theirs, but it's not. They haven't paid for it. They don't have title to it. They don't pay the taxes on it, and it's not theirs. If they want it, they should buy it. Well, after 3 planning and zoning meetings, and this being the second council meeting, considering all of this, I want to thank everyone for their time and efforts on this, including the city staff, the P&Z commissioners, and again tonight, the mayor and all the council members. This is a good ordinance. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Johnson?
Council, my name is Charles Johnson. I live at the corner of North Avenue, 1203, and Skinner Street. And I chose to live in Freeport because we wanted to make that community over there a better place to live. And there was a 25-foot lot to the west side of where I was building that house. And I built that house to every inch of that lot. And I finally was able to purchase that 25-foot lot. And but I'd already built the house, so I couldn't stretch it out over that. But let me tell you something. I am against putting 25-foot lot houses in between the houses that we have over in that area and all over Freeport, because we want our neighborhood to look good. We don't want it to be looking like a third world country over the city. It's just not fair, it's just not right. On the corner of M and Skinner, when I walk out my front door, all on my driveway, these 3 are not 25-foot lot houses, but when you have time to drive by there, and that junk's been sitting over there for about I don't know how many years, and it's still there, still there. We need to do something for Freeport that's going to make Freeport look good and look better. The people that own these 25-foot lots, they're looking to make money off of them. And I guess you can't help it because it's something that they can make a profit off of. But we as the citizens of Freeport, we want something in our neighborhoods that we can be proud of. We got some new houses on Avenue M and across the city, but when you stick something in there talking about it looking like a cottage, it just does not look good. And we as citizens of Freeport, we do not want it. I'm telling you, we need to do better. We need to plan better as far as residential structures, because for one thing, you put one of those 25-foot jobs in between 2 houses, that's a fire hazard. If that thing catches on fire, the houses next to it don't have a chance before the fire department can get there. And so we need to reconsider the situation and make sure that we're doing what's right and what's best for Freeport and not what's best and what's right for somebody's pocket.
Thank you, sir. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing. Once again, this is for the public to discuss, for council to discuss. We have another gentleman here, Mr. Scott McKay. Okay. Okay.
I'm Scott McKay with Simple Homes, and I want to thank the city staff, Mrs. Roman, along with the city attorney and all the others, the Planning and Zoning Commission, City Council, and Mayor, for the hard work and the persistent work to develop this ordinance. This has taken an incredible amount of time, of effort, and cooperation among many people, and it is greatly appreciated. I believe this is a win for everybody. I believe it's a win for the first-time home buyers. It's a win for the single parent, the retiring single, or the retiring seniors, young families, skilled workers, and the like, to potentially own a new home. You're making it possible for affordable housing to be built in Freeport. I believe it's a win for the city. New homes mean a growing tax base. It means an increase in school enrollment, and residents are more likely to spend their money and their disposable income here rather than the surrounding cities. I believe it's a win for the lot owners. They now have the opportunity to do something with their land, if they so choose. They're no longer limited to only maintaining the lots and paying taxes. I believe it's a win even for the neighborhoods. New homes brighten a neighborhood. They have a positive impact by encouraging neighbors to take pride in home ownership. And finally, I believe it's a win for the builders wanting to construct affordable housing. It gives us the chance to meet a critical need, enhance the city of Freeport, and be a blessing to a family. So I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for creating this ordinance and bringing a big win to Freeport.
Thanks, sir. Melanie?
Melanie Oldham. I have to respectfully disagree. I've heard this conversation back and forth for 2 years. I wish that all 5 of the Planning Commission board members would have been there. I think there would have been even better discussion. First of all, like Mr. Johnson said, all those reasons we talked about, fire hazards, the way this is written, they wouldn't even have to let the adjacent homeowners know about it. In there it says limited use permit. That says they would not even have to tell people that they were going to build these build on a 25-foot lot, tiny homes, cottages, whatever you want to call them. Now with a specific use permit, I understood that would be a compromise where they would have to come before and have, builders. If they're going to build them right in quality, they shouldn't have any problem getting a special use permit. And the adjacent homeowners would have to be notified. So if it was up to me, quite frankly, I'm not for building on the 25-foot lots, but for people I've heard speak that own land and want to build these, I think if nothing else, y'all would have to ask for a specific use permit to be fair to the adjacent homeowners that have these lots between them.
Thank you, ma'am. Manning?
Well, you guys know how I feel about building houses in Freeport. Every last one of y'all. 20 years, 40 years here. Nobody in this community came out here about the housing issue. People living in houses that's killing them. My cousin back there, Dolores, died in that trailer over there from a skin disease because she got it from the trailer. There's people living in conditions in these places because they are unsafe homes here, and the community only come out when it's next door to them. I don't care if it's next door to them. There's people living on the streets. We're living in conditions that's unsafe. We have an environmental issue in this city, and they want to cry about next door to their house. I don't care about their houses. I want homes in this city. Those 380 houses that were built, they were built 400 and 300,000 when they were supposed to be built for low income. They're not here. We need homes. The urban development land is gone. You ain't heard nobody come run up here when the urban development land is gone. Over 70 years paid for new communities. Nobody came out here. But now we're trying to get some homes here. Everybody want to run out here. Run out here while we need homes. Let's get some homes in Freeport. Y'all promised that. That's what that $8.9 million for. Build some houses in Freeport and stop the naysayers. They don't come no other time. They don't come here for nothing until they want something. Get us some houses.
Thanks, sir. Anybody else? Council, you have any comments? I do. Ms. Roman, tell me about paved versus concrete. What is paved?
So an impervious surface paved, they could not, it doesn't have to be concrete. They could do like blacktop, asphalt.
Yeah, I'm not for that.
I mean, then that could be a requirement that you do. Right now, they're not allowed to park on gravel, but it has to be blacktop or concrete. That's what the impervious surface is defined as right now.
Understood. But a paved asphalt street, I mean, you know, we already have repairs on those versus a paved parking lot with oil leaking from a car. Break down the oil in the tar, the asphalt itself. Anyway, all right. And tell me the difference between the limited use versus a specific use permit.
So specific use, they would have to come before planning and zoning every time to get a permit. So if they purchase the land, they would probably have to do it contingent on approval of a specific use permit, because if their permit's denied, then they're not allowed to build on that lot. A limited use allows them to build without coming to planning and zoning, but there are specific restrictions. You know, you can build, but you have to follow X, Y, Z, like they've listed here. You know, it must have outdoor storage. It must have certain requirements. So with a limited use, you have a little bit more control, but it doesn't have to come back and forth between planning and zoning every time.
So what changed from the last time I was here when it required a specific use permit?
There were some citizens present at the last meeting, and then there was just discussion between the others. That was one of the items that they discussed, that it, trying to be more business friendly, they were worried that some of the deals might fall through if, you know, they purchased the land, they came for a specific use permit, and then they were denied a specific use permit, they've now got land they cannot use.
Well,
and that might discourage builders from purchasing in the first place.
and how would a specific use permit for a 25-foot lot, what is a typical reason for its denial?
You would probably take into consideration the lot on the side. If a building had been built without a permit and it's already over a property line, and putting another building would butt it right up against another building, that might be a reason for denial. If a drainage ditch is sloped too far and the lot's just not buildable, there could be several circumstances. If it's maybe right next to a school and it would cause a hazard where the driveway from the school is too close. I mean, there could be several reasons.
And I'm not trying to jam you up, but and you gave some examples, but those are not very bad examples to really to work off of, and it still is under the guidance of the auspices of the city in regards to specific rules that we have.
Yes, they have to follow the international building codes. It would not create a fire hazard because they're not requiring less than the 5-foot side setbacks. That's standard across the United States. 5 foot, it actually allows 10 foot between the buildings. So it's 5 foot on your side, 5 foot on theirs. So there's a 10-foot gap between buildings, so that would not create a fire hazard for the communities. And like I said, if it were a specific use permit and they saw one of those hazards, that might be a reason for them to deny it.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Council, any other questions or comments? None? None? Do you have any? Go ahead.
Does anybody else have any comments?
Go ahead, sir.
I hope the Fax newspaper is here. Oh, there's a lady in the back, Mayor. I'll let her go first. Ladies first.
My name is Carolyn Johnson. I live at 1203 North Avenue.
Would you, hold on one second, Ms. Johnson, we're going to bring the mic back to you.
Okay, so it'll be easier for me to talk on.
I am not against the 20-foot lot, a 25-foot lot.
But what I am against is building in between houses. If you have 25-foot lots where you can have several of those houses in one area, that would be a reason to allow them to have the 25-foot lots. If you would have in your ordinance that they would be restricted from building between houses that are existing, that are on 50-foot lots, then that would be a good way for the builder to use the ones that are, and there are lots of lots in Freeport. There are places that you could build, and you could build houses that were very similar, and they would be 25-foot lots, and people would have a choice of whether or not they want to live there. But we have no choice. We cannot move our houses. We built our houses, we made them nice, and they were not 25-foot lots. They all are about the same distance from the street. We don't have alleys in our area, and you can't go and put your driveway in the back of your house. You would have to use the front, and that front house would be out of line with the rest of the houses. So in my opinion, there are things that you could do and still have 25-foot houses and not hurt the people that already have homes that can't pick them up and move them. And that's what I wanted to let you all to ask you to consider when you consider this ordinance. It is not proper. If you add some more things to them, then it will be easier for those of us who already have houses to accept 25-foot lots in the areas where they need to be and not between our houses. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else in the audience? All right, thank you, Mr. Roman. Mr. Pena. And the fax is here.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I want to thank everybody for coming out. And I recently read an article in the Fax newspaper. I think somebody wrote in a letter to the editor referencing this article from Norada Real Estate Investments. The letter claimed to say how bad and poor and downtrodden Freeport is because we have low income, no economic opportunities, high crime, a city hall that just doesn't provide adequate services to the residents. I hope that there's a responsive letter to that person that wrote into the Fax newspaper to let them know that they're categorically incorrect about Freeport. I mean, that's why we have all these people here tonight, and many others that aren't here tonight for this particular scenario, that want to invest in Freeport, because Freeport is ripe with opportunity. Don't believe me? Just ask the city of Brasilia. We gave away the UTJ to them. Don't believe me? Ask the port. They just got a whole tract of land called the East End for $9 million. Don't believe me? There's so many realtors that are frustrated that there's not enough housing here in Freeport, and so they have to take all these prospective future homeowners, future residents, wannabe Freeport residents, wannabe coastal living residents, moving out to Richwood, moving out to Lake Jackson, moving out to Brasilia, moving out to College Station, moving out to Clute and Surfside. Those guys are passing us up. And I can tell you here, we want to talk about limited use and specific use. I want to touch on that, but I also want to touch on incentives. But how can we say that you're pro-residential and put up barriers of bureaucracy that slow down and or stop development? You can't be both. You can't be anti-industrial and anti-residential, because that just makes you anti-Freeport. That makes you anti-growth. That's like anti-forward. That makes no sense. And so that tells me that there are voids in people's knowledge base. And there's demonized ideas of what a 25-foot lot is and what it isn't. But the second cancer to development next to overreaching code enforcement is the NIMBY syndrome. And the NIMBY syndrome is not in my backyard. It's the biggest obstacle. It's the biggest obstacle for development. And so when I think about NIMBY syndrome, I think about all the residents that were over in Bridge Harbor that said, not in my backyard do we want Kissimmee. We don't want that industrial plant in our backyard or in our front yard. When the reality was, no matter what direction, 360 degrees you looked, there was an industrial plant. You know, when the Union Pacific is trying to put in new tracks, people are saying, oh my God, the noise, the congestion, this 36 redevelopment, Highway 36, there's complaints about that. There's complaints even about the HOV coming down 288. Let's just leave everything nice and quiet, can we please? Well, that right there is the sepsis of any city. The desire to stay put and decay. And so I say, I appreciate code enforcement trying to lessen the hurdles, to lower the hurdles. I'm glad planning and zoning, for those who were there, that had enough sense to say, yes, let's move this forward. Let's make the changes that make sense so that we can have more development, so we can have more houses, so we can have more families, and so we can have a future Freeport. But we want to talk incentives. That's the language of the businessman. But that's the language of every resident here. If you looked at the taxes from the last year, everybody's taxes went up, their property taxes went up. So it's real simple. Let the 25-foot lots be there. There's not an additional fire hazard beyond the response time that our fire department can be. We have a very strong fire department, number one. But seriously, if somebody wanted to build a 20-foot lot, and then, a 20-foot wide home on that 25-foot lot, and said, hey, well, let me ask which neighbor will allow me to go to the left or to the right, and they get a 25% discount on their property tax, I guarantee there's going to be less people complaining about it. They're going to be lining up to say, yes, live next to me. Those are my thoughts, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else have any comments?
Currently, how many 25-foot vacant lots do we have in this city, roughly? 10, 50, 100?
I would say more than 50 for sure, probably closer to 100.
Okay, thank you. That's the question I had.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
Mayor, I have some questions.
Yes, sir.
And comments. Jerry, that's a good question that you just brought up. And doing my research on this, there are well over 135 lots. But majority of those lots are in contiguous plots of land that can't be developed. We're really talking about 15 lots, maybe 20 at a max in the Velasco Heights subdivision. So we're really talking about that many lots. And majority of those lots are within existing housing. People come here to Freeport and they say, hey, Freeport's a great place to live. You know what makes it a great place to live? The neighborhoods that have been together for 60 years plus, that haven't had change, where somebody wants to put a 2-story house in between 2 existing homes that have been there for over 60 years. That's what makes Freeport great. And so when this first came up, I've said it before and I'll say it again, is my first encounter into city politics. There was a builder who wanted to put up houses on 0 lot lines. Within these, and at that time, it was only 8 lots that they wanted to do it, because those were lots that the city owned. They made a deal with that developer. Residents received notification about this, and they came to a Board of Adjustments meeting and said, hey, this isn't what we want as residents. I was one of them. As we were there, we said if it's done correctly, we'll be for it. And it dropped. We thought it was over. Now it's coming back up. And I've been the liaison for the Board of Adjustments in Planning and Zoning, and speaking to the residents who this affects, which is majority of the residents within my ward. They were not for this. They're for, as Ms. Johnson stated, development if it's done right. And so, in talking with residents throughout the ward, which some of them are here tonight speaking about this, in which I've been called a liar and said that there were no residents who were against this by Jeff, Mario, and others, which, hey, tonight is proof. That's why I asked this to be tabled the last time. And so I spoke with Ms. Roman, at the time, Mr. Kelty, and said, maybe we can become an agreeable on this if we have some stipulations. Stipulation number 1 was specific use permit. That way we can, if there's a lot in between 2 existing houses, we can have those residents at least be made aware before it's just being built. Second compromise was, let's put these, if we're going to do these houses, let's make sure that the parking is in the back. We're going to change the way these neighborhoods look, so let's try and do it as minimal as possible. If we do it parking in the back, it'll alleviate the issues that we're seeing now with some of our streets, especially in the avenues, Velasco Heights, that are barely 16 foot wide. You start adding more and more houses, parking in the front, inevitably they're going to park on the road. It's going to create other issues. It's also going to change the neighborhood. And so if we put the parking in the back, I think we can agree with that. But it brought up another issue. Well, these lots, there's no alley in the back. The city doesn't have the funds to take care of that, institute new alleys. So let's make it, if the property owner, builder wants to build on these 25-foot lots, let it be their dime to put in an alley. And so we agreed to that. It went through planning and zoning. It passed, came to us. There was some pushback, which is fine. That's city government. It's now back with some changes. I myself live probably about 3 houses down from a 25-foot lot. I didn't purchase my house to have a house that's would be built to make my neighborhood look totally different than what it is now. And yes, Ms. Richardson, you say too bad. But you know what? You've lived here for less than 2 years. Okay, 3 years.
Hold on, let me,
I've lived here for 40 years.
Excuse me, ma'am, Ms. Richardson, if your name is Ms. Richardson, please stop. Please stop. Councilman Madam Morris, do not address folks individually out in the audience. All right,
Okay.
sir, you've been warned. Thank you.
Yes, sir. There are a lot of individuals who have recently moved to our city who don't care about the charm that has made it what it is. They just see dollar signs. And you know what? It's been brought up that
It's all about the money.
there are, people should be able to
talk about
profit off of their investment. I'm not against that. There are people who have made they've tried to purchase lots in between that, but they were told no, or they were given a price so high that it just wasn't feasible. So I said all of this to get to this point. If we can make an ordinance that makes it to where it does not change for the existing homeowners, residents of Freeport, I'm all for it. But as it's written now, this is not something that I could go and look in the people that I represent in their face and say, this is best for y'all and Freeport, because it's not. It's going to change the neighborhoods, the way they look now. And it would make it not a place that people would want to come and make their home. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Council, anybody else have anything else they want to say?
Mayor, I have a couple of questions or clarification for Ms. Roman.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Roman, I'm
Ms. Clark.
going to ask you some questions about some of the compromises that have been described tonight. I hope you can help shed the light and clarify either the confusion or the misleading information or misinformation that's out here. So, let me just first say, I never said that George didn't have somebody who didn't want this. I heard about that meeting when that meeting happened. Of course there were people that didn't want it. People lost their jobs because of that meeting. A former EDC director lost their job because of that meeting. I was on the EDC, so I'm aware of what happened.
Well, look, you were on the EDC a long time ago. Can we get to the...
I'm making the point to clarify that I did not state what you said that I stated. Don't try to disallow me to defend myself, sir.
No, I don't...
So,
I didn't view you as being attacked, but I would think that you would like to...
You maybe your humans a little off, but you said it. You said it, sir.
ask you to get to the point, sir.
I'm trying to, but you keep interrupting, Brooks.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So, back to the point here.
Okay, very good.
It's kind of a little disingenuous when you say, well, hey, you know, we kind of like these 25-foot lots, but so long as the parking's in the back. And it's kind of like crawfishing the whole argument. Because the reality is that, oh, well, we'll say it's in the back. But for those streets that don't have an alley, you already know that's kind of a dead deal right there in terms of a compromise. That's not a real compromise. It's pitched up because they know it's cost prohibitive. No developer is going to develop the alley, not for an infill. Maybe for those acres over here on Avenue J in Skinner that we sold for $150,000. But for the infill, for the streets that don't have alleys, it's silly to even say that you're compromising to say, well, we'll put it in the back, but then the developers have to put it in the alley for two reasons. One, it's cost prohibitive, but then for all of those residents that don't have an alley right now, they're just going to say, yeah, give me an alley? I hardly think so. They don't want any kind of change. That's not what they bought, was the argument. So let's be honest. We just don't want it. Don't put up a compromise as a smokescreen for what it's really not. It's not a compromise, it's a trick. But, you know, if you want to be real honest about this, let's look for a real compromise. I thought Councilman Kane did that. He said when there's alleys, we'll put them in the back. And when there's not alleys, leave them in the front. And the reason why was because it's also cost prohibitive to the city to maintain if we put in new alleys. So let's be smart about this. Why do we have development? Why do we have an EDC even? Because we're trying to cultivate investment, development, commerce, new homes, new families, new ideas. Not 60-year-old ideas. I think that the generosity and the kindness and the hospitality of everybody in Freeport would be so actually very open-armed welcoming to a young family who's just trying to get into a starter home. Does anybody really believe that 25-foot lot, 15-foot wide home is a forever home? It might be a retirement home. It might be a starter home. But let's give all those folks who are looking for affordable housing a chance. And why not here? That's all I got, Mayor.
Did you have questions? Okay, so you don't have questions for Ms. Roman. That's good. Ms. Richardson, you're up. Ms. Clark, you're next. I saw your arm. Sorry.
No, I had a question. And look forward to an answer.
Too late. Ms. Richardson's going first.
Patty Richardson, live at 21 North Avenue A. Are there any other realtors or real estate professionals in this room with me?
Ms. Richardson, please address council.
Okay, I just wonder if I was alone or not.
Thank you.
Because, I mean, there's 5 of you, there's 1 of me.
Okay.
I just want to make sure you guys know, when I came here 3 years ago, I came here with a dream that I was going to be part of the growth and the improvement of Freeport. Come on, we are living in a industrial town. The illnesses, the things that happen when you live in this town, you can't be sure ever if it's related to the industry or not. We are not Plano. We are not Bel Air. We are not those kind of communities. We have to make some compromises because we are what we are, which is a industrial town with a lot of industry and only a little bit of residential. And if we don't improve that residential, we're just going to keep treating the people that have invested and started their homes here like they are just part of paying the bill instead of watching the community grow. The community can't grow. Right now, when y'all talk about what's going to make it look pretty and you're going to change the way the neighborhood looks, the neighborhood needs to change. They're ugly. Not every house in this town is ugly, but a huge percentage of these, I'm sorry.
Hold on, wait, please.
A huge percentage of these homes needs a lot of work and attention.
Stop for a second, please. Ladies and gentlemen, give her the respect she deserves, please. No, sir. She does. Just like you deserve respect when you said hell. I let you get away with that. So let her, excuse me, sir, let her speak. Go ahead, ma'am.
What I'm saying is, I drive through these neighborhoods looking for vacant homes, stuff like that. Most of the homes that I'm looking at, I think are vacant, someone lives in. And they look so scary and debilitated, and they need attention. And I think maybe if their property taxes weren't so high, maybe they could put a little more money into their homes and improve where they live and what they have. Their investment, when I go through the neighborhood, what I mostly see is I see 3 or 4 homes that are well kept, and then I see about 10 that aren't. And when I try to sell this neighborhood, they say, is there any place else we can look? And they don't mean down the street. They mean a different town. They think Clute is a little bit of a step up, but they prefer Lake Jackson because the people that come here and buy here because it's an investment opportunity and that they could possibly pick something up, fix it up, and then sell it. That's really what we want. We want investors to come in, do the dirty work, and then let us have the opportunity to create and entertain new residents that might make our community a little bit better, our streets, our neighborhoods, my neighbors don't even hardly talk to me. I have to go over there and give them my card every 6 months and say, do you remember who I am? Because they're just detached. And I think all of us would come together if we had something exciting and wonderful to get behind that created opportunity for everyone. And those vacant lots, when they built their homes, those lots were already there. So you kind of have to, as a buyer, you have to say, well, I'm buying this lot, I'm not buying that lot, and that lot's vacant, and I can't do anything about it. So if that bothers me, that I can't control that lot, then I probably don't need to buy this lot. Those are just my professional thoughts.
Thank you, ma'am.
No, I'm gonna fix Freeport.
Hey, come on now, let's keep it cordial here. We got a facts reporter here, and I don't want her to go and say that it was all just, well, anyway, I won't say that, but. No. All right, thank you, ma'am. Anybody, Ms. Clark?
Carla Clark, 411 Selfish. On another note, I believe it was last year that we had Mr. Cohen come in and want to develop some property in the same general area with $300 homes. That was pretty much inequitable for that area. Are those lots, 25-foot lots, in that, the one the city owns back behind the Minute Market in the Heights? Mr. Cohen, was it Mr. Cohen that was in here?
Yeah, I think it was Mr. Cohen.
Wanting to develop that? Maybe Mr. Jordan and them could look at that to do something like in the sections or something where we wouldn't have to, I know there's no streets and such in there, but it's a different kind of thought for housing in that same general area, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that the city owns that. And work with them on developing that in that area with some type of little homes, or, I mean, out in Oyster Creek, the preserve, it's beautiful. And those are basically small, tiny homes. And Mr. Jordan's been around for a long time. And, you know, I trust and believe in his type of work. So there might be others. That I know there's been other people that came to the planning and zoning when I was on that board, and they wanted to do things too. But that chunk of land or that circle of land over there, it can be used for something less than $300,000 homes with the TERS, with this, with that, on those stipulations that would be for eligible for people to have to mud districts and that kind of stuff that won't be piling up on taxes on top of that. Just a thought.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, anybody else? Yes, ma'am, very good. It is now 7:07, and I will close this public hearing. And I will ask if there is a motion of some sort.
May I make a motion to pass the ordinance as was drafted?
We have a motion from Councilman Pena to pass the ordinance as presented. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there a second?
Mayor, I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a second from Councilman Kane. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Nay. Motion passes 3-2. Very good. Item number 4, discussion and possible action of agreed sale price for parcel 1 and parcel 2 for $71,600 for Lucy Ware. Mr. Petty.
Yes, sir. Mrs. Ware is not here tonight. I know that Olson & Olson's been in contact with her, so we need to table this item.
All right, so City Manager Petty is asking that the item be tabled. Is there a motion to do so?
I'll make the motion to table item number 4.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, so it is tabled. Item number 5, discussion and update on rental inspection program. Ms. Roman.
Yes, sir. This is just a continuation of the discussion about the rental inspection program. Everything at this point is just proposed. Included in your packet is a sample ordinance that was used in another city and 2 samples of inspection sheets, because I know the last time you had some questions about exactly what would be inspected and what would be looked for. We plan to have a meeting this Thursday night. We've invited all the apartment owners and their managers at City Hall, and for them to be invited to have a discussion on what their concerns might be. I have also invited the Lake Jackson building officials, since they've successfully run a similar program for the past 15 years. And they've run into a lot of the concerns and have already addressed them with their owners. So I thought that would be an asset as well. And then we would like to invite any council members who would like to attend. Like I said, at this point, everything is just a proposal. Everything on the inspection lists, if you'll notice, there is a section and a code next to it. It is either by city ordinance or by property maintenance code. We do not believe in that because I said so. You know, we can point to the law, and this is why it is a safety requirement or a health requirement, the things that would be addressed. So, like I said, at this point, the proposal, and I checked with the city of Lake Jackson, they charge a similar, it's $2.50 on the water bill only of the apartment units. This is not going to be even proposed for all citizens of Freeport. It is only for apartment complex to pay the bill that would be for their inspection fees. And that would be $2.50 a unit per apartment per month on their water bill. And like I said, that's just the proposal that can go up, down, or completely away at the will of council. So,
All right. As you know, I want it to expand already into residential as well. So I want you to think of how we're going to do that, because we're going to do that.
I will say, if you'll note in the sample ordinance, they say things that will be required in 5 years.
Yes.
You could do something like that. In 5 years or on day one of 6 year, you could incorporate 10% of rental, residential homes. You can, so there's standards you can build farther out.
1 year.
Or 1 year.
Because
We need a lot more
for
staff.
a lot of what Manning says, he's right about some of the
Yes.
housing stock
Yes.
in Freeport.
And I will recommend, it is very, very difficult with legalities to inspect occupied homes. You always want to go after them proactively when they're vacant in between rentals, because before they can rent them, that's when you have them fix them up, get them to code. There is a lot of legal red tape when you have an occupied home and right of entry and end.
And I agree, but that's why we would have some type of registration program where we
Yes.
would know when folks, there'd be it on the onus of the landlord to inform the city when it was change of occupancy, so we could get in there.
And if you'll note in the sample ordinance, that is one of the requirements. The first of every month, the apartment owners have to provide a report to the city of all new vacants that have changed since the last month.
All right. Well, on top of that, I would like to form a citizen committee to be part of this process. And council, I'm looking for ideas in regards to number. Certainly, there are 5 of us. We could say each person appoint 1 person to this committee, but it also would then also need to include folks from the apartment complexes, the multi-residences, and I also want folks now that are individual landlords to be a part of this, 1 or 2, because we're coming to look at it, and we're going to inspect it, we're going to make it better, so folks can have safe housing in Freeport. Yes, thank you, Councilman Pena, for your support. So, with that in mind, we can certainly work on trying to formulate a committee tonight. I already have my choice in mind. I know I just sprung it on you at the last minute, but if y'all want to wait to the next meeting, we can do so. But, pardon me? Waiting to the next meeting? All right, so let's re-agenda this item for the next meeting, in which case I expect each council person to have 1 person picked out from your ward to be part of this committee to work with Casey and the code department and the administration and Mr. Petty and with city council, because ultimately it falls on us to get this done. But we are going to get this done.
Would you like us to ask for volunteers at the meeting we're going to have Thursday night?
Yeah.
From the apartment owners?
You can certainly ask for volunteers, but I want council to make the appointment. So you can give the list of volunteers to us at council, and then we can determine if they're in our wards, and we can make the selections. Thank you, ma'am.
Hey, I'm wondering if we shouldn't have more people on this thing, and for that matter, be a little bit more, I guess, scientific about it. Because we're talking about landlords, we're talking about a community with 60% rental, and for 60% of about 11,000, that's 6,000 people. I'd hate to think that 5 people are going to dictate that.
5 people aren't going to dictate. They're going to
I'm just saying,
excuse me, sir, they're going to put forth their ideas. They're going to listen to the
Yeah,
facts.
I know. I'm just saying you're going to get a better pool of ideas when you have a larger pool of folks. Well, I was actually talking first, sir.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
I was just saying that the larger pool of people that might actually bring some substantial information to the matter, I think would be valuable. Now, I like the idea that we might pick one person each, but I also like the idea of not politicizing it, and then maybe allowing Ms. Roman to find folks that want to actually volunteer their services, their ideas.
Yeah. Well, that's good, but I think that we ought to come up with ideas from folks that we talk to that might want to volunteer, because I think we can talk and find volunteers as well, and we'll go forward with it.
And once it's fine-tuned, you could also invite tenants to a meeting to explain to them, and they might have some insight as well.
Sure, and it will always be open to anybody to come and to speak at. But we ultimately have to cut it off. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Clark.
Casey mentioned a meeting Thursday, and it's at what time?
It's at 5:30 at City Hall, and it's for the apartment owners and their managers to come in.
Is it strictly the managers and the apartment owners, or is it to the public? And will there be an open meeting notice so that all the council might be able to attend?
Do we have time to post the meeting notice for that? Possible quorum?
Certified quorum, possible quorum.
How many days do we have?
72 hours.
If there's going to be a quorum, you should just post it as a meeting.
If we post the meeting
I'll tell you
notice
what,
tonight.
I won't be there.
There's 4 other councilmen.
So, there we have it. Thank you, ma'am.
How do we put it on, how do we satisfy the opportunity for every
You
councilman?
get there
to be there?
first. You be there at 5 o'clock waiting to be there, because we've already set the notices out for Thursday, and
Well,
there's not,
We're trying to plan this.
Yeah.
So why don't we plan this right?
well, you know,
And reschedule it so that everybody can be there.
well, why do we want to reschedule when we can start the process, Jeff, and get this?
Why hurry up to make a mistake?
I don't want to.
Why hurry up to make a mistake?
I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait because I think lives are important now. So,
Well, we'll be hurting lives too by making hasty decisions too.
hasty decisions. It's like hasty pudding. Hasty pudding.
It's
Okay.
all funny.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am. And Mr. Petty, you got this on for agenda next time, and we'll come up with a committee. Thank you. Item number 6, consideration of possible action on the approval to waive permitting, building, and inspection fees for residential reconstruction for 1219 West 4th Street through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Program.
Yes, sir. Ms. Hilda Reyes, who resides at 1219 West 4th Street, has been approved for assistance under the county's Home Reconstruction Rehabilitation Program. Ms. Reyes has contracted with Cypress Point Construction to complete the home build. The existing home has been demolished, and this is only to waive the fees for the reconstruction. Inspections will still be required through the building department. Just a background information on it, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development's Home Reconstruction Rehabilitation Program assists low to moderate income families to repair their homes, or in this case, that rehab is not feasible, reconstruct a new dwelling. These are grant funds from HUD that the county manages and distributes to participate in jurisdictions throughout the county. This program not only helps the individual with a more suitable living environment, but also prevents the city's housing stock from becoming more dilapidated, and in turn promotes an increase in property values. So staff recommends the approval
All right.
item number 6.
All right, I make a motion to approve item number 6. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mayor.
We have a second from Councilman Matamoros. Any discussion needed?
I think this is a great program, and I think doing this is the least we could do.
Very good. Thank you, sir. With that, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you, 5-0. Work session, City Council may deliberate and make inquiry into any item specifically listed as a subsection under itemized sections A through H below. Councilman Pena, Ward A. Announcements and comments.
First and foremost, Happy New Year to everybody. I hope everybody had a nice holiday. I know that we had some lighting contests and winners were announced, so I just really want to applaud everybody that decorated their homes this holiday season. And hopefully we can have more community participation going forward in each ward, and maybe have the city involved as well going forward. But more community programs that help promote the residents' homes, and their curb appeal, and the quality of life in the city will be announced going forward. So thank you. I also want to make mention that there was a sign that I notified the city about. It's a no truck sign coming off of 1495 onto Broad Street. It was actually torn down by somebody looking to illegally pass through downtown. And as a downtown owner of one of the older buildings, all these buildings shake. And I know, being a former liaison for the Main Street, preservation is very important, so I want to make sure that we're making every effort by the city to make sure that those structures downtown are preserved, by making sure that no heavy trucks are passing through. And by doing so, or by putting up those signs, we can help prevent that. And that sign, I could tell you, was torn. There was a bolt torn off on the bottom of the sign, and then a day later, the top one, and I can tell you it wasn't wind. There's no doubt in my mind that it was a manual effort. And that sign, unfortunately, is still not repaired. Now, I will say, when I did make the request, I know the city staff went out there within the hour, which I was very pleased and impressed with, but I'm just curious as to why it hasn't been replaced since, and for that matter, sits on the street. I'll just say this, is that we will have some items in executive session, and I don't know if I'll be able to ask for those to be an open session, but also I want to make sure that I have an opportunity to make a motion before we go into executive session about security. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Kane?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to thank everybody that came out tonight and braved the weather. We've been getting alerts all day today saying it's supposed to be real nasty, and so far it hadn't been that bad. Is it raining now? Well, the tornado watch was supposed to expire around 9 o'clock, so I asked the mayor if we can make this a long meeting. That way we're here safe until it's gone.
Oh, you really want to sit in a city building for your safety? I don't know. Sorry about that, Lance.
I've got a couple things I want to say. First off, right before the holidays, there was a fire out here at the Antonelli building. And I want to commend the first responders. Well, not only the first responders, but the city themselves, the city itself. The police department come out right away with a fire extinguisher. Fire truck showed up just shortly later, got the fire put out, everything under control, and potentially saved one of our best landmarks. So I commend them. Chief, you guys did a great job. Chief, you guys did a great job. But second of all, whenever we came back from vacation, right at a week later, I stopped by because I wanted to see what the damage looked like. And when I got there, it was like, what damage? All the boards had been fixed, everything's been repaired, repainted, in a manner of time that I don't think anybody would have expected. So Lance, to you and your crews, thank you. Y'all did a wonderful job there. Next, I would like to congratulate Wade Dillon and the museum. Everybody that put on the re-grand opening. It was such a success. The ribbon cutting, I was not able to attend, but I understand there was close to 100 people there. Incredible. I was able to make it there in the evening, and what they have done to the museum is just unbelievable. So Wade, if you're watching, if you're listening, hats off to you, brother. That's all I've got, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Councilman, Madam Morris, Ward C.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes.
I, too, would like to thank all the residents who attended in person and viewed online. Also, thank you to the residents who spoke during citizens' comments and agenda items. I, unfortunately, was home ill for the ribbon cutting and museum preview, but everything that I have seen and heard makes it a huge success. It's one of our hidden gems here in Freeport. I suggest everybody who is able to go out, look at all the hard work that Mr. Wade Dillon, Mr. McGinty have done. It's one of those jewels that Freeport has second to none. I will be getting out there very soon to look at all the progress. Now to the item that I asked, or I requested to have on the agenda, hotel occupancy taxes. Mrs. Hill.
Mayor, if my name gets brought up, do I get a chance to respond, or are you just going to allow the tongue lashing?
I don't know what it is, sir. So
No, I'm
why
pretty
don't we
sure I
wait
know what
and
it is.
see?
Let's find out.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So, thank you. So I have brought this up before. Are there hotel occupancy taxes that are still owed by Councilmember Pena?
Disputed is the right word.
At this time, there has been no communication to me from Councilman Pena to set up a time for me to review his documentation on the payment of hotel occupancy taxes. The only communication that I have had from Councilman Pena was a open records request in which I provided over 320 pages to him. But as of right now, he has not scheduled a meeting with me to even determine well, because he does have a short-term rental, which he has stated under state law that does require the payment of hotel occupancy taxes. But there's been no communication from me since the date I gave him the letter, November the 6th, to schedule any review or any meeting with me.
Okay, so question for you. Is it City of Freeport policy for you to schedule meetings with short-term rental owners to have them pay?
In this case, because of the fact that the finance director is named in the ordinance, that if there's a discrepancy or if the city has not received payment, it is at my discretion whether or not to seek a remedy. And I have given Councilman Pena a letter asking him to schedule something with me to seek a remedy. for the payment.
So can I help just kind of cut the tape a little here?
Excuse
I
me,
mean,
this is my turn. This is my turn to speak. You have had your chance.
Are you interested in the
You have had
plan,
your
or are you
chance to
interested in
speak.
an answer and a
This is my
solution?
turn to speak. You have had your chance to speak. You have had your chance to not pay your hotel occupancy taxes. You're a thief of city money.
Oh, but
That's
that's
exactly
the
what
city under oath, okay.
You know what,
Let me tell you
it's fun? It's fun actually not being part of it for once. Because normally,
this is the thing,
normally,
is it- do we want the answer here?
don't make me get in it. Don't make me get in it.
I'm not sure why we're over here debating
But
this. in
here's the
public
deal.
When this is
Councilman
like a
Pena.
water bill. I
Councilman
can
Pena,
dispute
sir.
my water bill, but I can't dispute
Councilman Pena.
any other bills that the city will give me.
Councilman Pena, you are out of line, sir, and I would like you to refrain from talking while the other folks are speaking, please.
Well, I'm
Would you
just
give them
trying
the
to
common courtesy? Would you please be courteous like you are? Would you, and you can speak all you want on your Facebook when you get out tonight.
Well, see, that's
Would you
the
not
problem
say
here.
anything and let Councilman Morse get done with his comments?
So this is a big puppet act, is what I'm saying.
Puppet act. Yes, there we go. Look at this, folks. Here we go. We've got the puppet. He's got a little puppet on his hand. Yes.
So,
Good gracious. Well,
Mayor,
anyway,
may
let's
I?
go. Yes. Thank you.
Councilman Pena does have a thing that if he is going to dispute it, that he did have a question about his water bill, and he came in and talked to my staff member to go over that water
Okay,
bill.
well, let's don't talk about water bill.
However,
But that was an easy
Councilman
matter. This is a
Pena,
much more
enough, sir.
convoluted. This is
Enough,
more
sir.
convoluted.
Enough,
It's
sir.
a more convoluted process.
Chief of Police, if he talks again outside of his turn, I'm going to ask you to please come up and let's instruct him to leave. Councilman Pena, please be quiet.
I'm going to go ahead and leave.
Okay, thank you. Good.
Because there's
as
no-
I was
Go ahead.
saying, that he has to dispute his hotel occupancy tax bill with me, and he has to schedule a meeting to do so. He has not done so since November 6th.
Okay.
Mayor, do you want an answer to that?
No, I thought you were leaving. Oh, you're not leaving
I have the
now?
prerogative to stick around.
Okay, all right. Well, if you'll just be quiet and let Councilman Matamoros finish,
I'm
please.
going to ask you a question.
No, sir. Councilman Matamoros. Goodness gracious, Jeff, you really, you make me want to run again, buddy. You make me want to run again.
Do it.
Spank you like a,
You should.
like a stepchild.
You should.
But let's go ahead.
Just be
Thank
more
you, Mayor.
transparent.
Go ahead.
And so, you have tried to schedule.
I have not tried to schedule because the letter said he was to schedule with me, he has not.
So he has
Correct,
stated he wanted to schedule, but has not.
correct.
Okay.
So at this point, if something is not scheduled, then I will have to take the next step to get the meeting to be scheduled.
Okay. So, and I'll just end with this. I brought this up, and Mrs. L, you can have a seat.
Thank you.
Thank you. I brought this up because we hear all the time, why can't we get this done in downtown? Why can't we get this done? These unpaid, for many years, hotel occupancy taxes are funds that could be used for that. All this hurts is the city of Freeport. And for an elected representative, we should be held to a higher standard. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Rosso.
Now, Mayor, do I get a response to that?
No, sir. Councilman Rosso.
There you go.
Yes.
It's not fair, Jeff. It's not fair. Go ahead.
Can I speak?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Three things that I have, positive. The MLK worship service will be in Angleton Thursday night, 7:30. You're welcome to come. The MLK banquet will be at the Westport College this Saturday night. If you've never been to the banquet, it's quite an event. And so I invite you all to take part of that. The MLK parade will be this Monday, starting at 11 o'clock downtown Freeport and ending at a festival in the park, Freeport Park. You're all invited to come. It's free of charge, food, all kinds of activities, band, there's a DJ, there's praise dancing, there's all kinds of things going on in that. It's been going on for the last 38 years. And I just happen to be on the board, and that's why I'm advertising it. I would love for you to spread the word, even you people out there in Facebook land. I had the opportunity to attend the ribbon cutting in downtown Freeport, and it was, as someone mentioned, a lot of people there. It went well. Our mayor did us proud. It seems like every time he gets to speak, it's like he does a book report on it and come up with facts that probably half the people there don't know anything about. So he did a great job of representing the city of Freeport, because there were people from all over Brazoria County. I don't know how he did it, but he got all those people out there. And then when you went inside to see what he's done, you can't really appreciate the after unless you saw the before. Mm-hmm. And so it is an excellent job that he and his wife and his co-workers are doing at that library, at that museum. Another item I got a chance to go and see is out at Bridge Harbor. There are some problems out there at Bridge Harbor, and we're going to have to address those things. We as a city going to have to address some of those problems that's out there. That's going to cost a whole bunch of money. And if you've never seen the problems, you can't understand what I'm saying. I've gone out there and I've looked at it, and I'm sure everyone up here on the board has seen some of the problems out there at Bridge Harbor. It can be fixed. Riding around in Freeport, I'm just so impressed. I don't know if it's Lance or his workers, because every time I ride around, they're working. They're not leaning, they're not sleeping, they're not doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And so I guess Lance must be putting a whip to it, I don't know. But they look good. Our city looks good. And things are getting done. People are working. Sidewalks, drainage, all of that. It's going on right here in Freeport. Regardless of what you're hearing from other folk, people in Freeport are working. The employees are working. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Lance, before I get to you, just a couple things real quick. I want to pile on with Wade Dillon. It's just absolutely mind-blowing, the museum experience, the panels that are in English and Spanish, which was an incredible idea. So all of our citizens have access to it. Just the way it's laid out is amazing. And I'm very proud of him and his staff, and Lance, you for, Wade says you've been there for him every time he's turned around, so he appreciates you. But I want to say this, did you know, and this is what I said the other day that I was there at the ribbon cutting, that Freeport is biblical. Did y'all know that? Because Freeport begat a lot of everything else. Now, can anybody tell me what the word begat means? Cause it to happen, give birth to, that's correct. It's biblical, it's in Genesis, it's also in John. But in Genesis, they were begatting folks, and that's where the begatting started. In Freeport, its history, its people begat southern Brazoria County. I truly believe that. Either through the towns itself, for the people that were born here, the people that lived here, the people that worked here, the people that were raised here, the people that went to school here. Freeport and Velasco, because Velasco begrudgingly came over in the 1950s, with only about, I think it was about a 16-vote margin, by the way. But Freeport and Velasco's histories are intertwined, and it's absolutely amazing. And what Wade and his folks have done down there at the museum is awe-inspiring. And I've been across the country, and I've seen a lot of museums, big and small, and this one ranks right up there. So kudos to that. Yes, sir.
All I have is a little update on the infrastructure. Phase 2 of the road reconstruction should be completed by February.
Okay.
Then there'll be a final walkthrough on both, on that section, and then the cleanup will start, dressing up the laydown yards, which may take 6 to 8 weeks, as much stuff as they got piled up. The wastewater collection line replacement program, it is moving along. They do have a second crew that'll be coming in to start addressing the alleys that they caused some damage on. We're staying on top of that. And the wastewater treatment plant will be on the next agenda. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. At this time, I will make a motion to include Lance Petty into executive session. Let me make the motion first, and I'll get to you. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mayor.
And all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Yes, sir.
I got a motion there. I had a question that doesn't have...
You're going to have to come up to the mic, Mr. Pearson. I'm sorry. It's going to be further than that.
It's really a citizen's comment.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, I'm Tom Pearson, 110 South Front Street. I just had a question. How does a citizen come to address certain councilmen when they don't show up on time? They're always late, and citizens' comments over with by the time they get here.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, Councilman Pena, you have a motion, sir.
Yeah, first of all, my email and phone number are available online, and you're welcome to ask me any question either before or after the meeting, or during the week, 7 days a week.
How do you know he was addressing you, sir?
Oh,
Feeling guilty
I like
there?
to play the game, jump to conclusions like you do.
Well, why don't
I'm going to make the motion that we include the police chief in executive session for security measures
And what security measures are those?
to protect me from you.
To protect you from me. Okay, very good. So there's a motion from Councilman Pena to have security in here to protect him from me, his words. Is there a second? Is there a second? Hearing none, motion fails. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're now in executive session regarding personnel matters, update on investigation into complaints filed against Councilman Pena, deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, contract with city manager Lance Petty, discussion regarding 12-month disciplinary actions administered by assistant city manager / city manager pursuant to section 551.074. If y'all will all please step out, and Councilman Pena, if you will step out as well, we're going to take up the first investigation will be about you, sir.
That's not a legal matter, is it? I thought that's something that could be actually an open session if I selected. That's what David Olson had said last time.